Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Thursday, May 6th. One more day of the week to go. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. This video, of course, is for educational purposes only. If the video happens to be blurry, it is a YouTube thing. They take a while to render the high def video, so just wait a little bit longer and they'll do their thing. All right, so let's get to the averages. We'll talk about this crazy price action that we're seeing and all kinds of rotation that we are seeing. SPY up 80 basis points for the day. So strong price action. End of day move again. I don't want to say again, but end of day move. I'll break that down for you in just a second. Q's finished fine for the day, up 0.75%. The Dow finished up close to 1%. New all-time record, by the way, for the Dow. Small caps lagged a little bit. Sorry, that shouldn't be in. This is from earlier. I forgot to change that, but I might as well put this in green too. Yeah, so they did. Small caps did lag today. They did finish in the green, but just barely. Bonds non-factor for the day, up slightly for the day, and then some little bit different moves out of gold and silver today. That was something that we talked about in the pre-market session. Strong silver up 3.2%. Gold up 1.7%, and the VIX declined. So let's go over those indices and some of those macro areas, and then we'll talk about sectors and some of the rotation on the tape. But SPY, just like that, I was a bit worried that this was going to start to kind of break down, to the downside and break the 20-day moving average. But we held like a champ, and really, what I focus on a lot, being a little bit of a shorter term trader these days, is this 1 hour chart in S&P. We kept trying, from where we broke down earlier in the week on Tuesday, we kept trying to retake it. Bottom of this is the bottom of the week of this week's value area. Here, I'll turn on the volume profile so that you can see, if you're not familiar with our system of using volume at price and the MarketWebs indicator. So let me turn on the volume profile for you. But this value area is based on last week's price action and volume action. So this is the shadow here. So what we do is we come up with some really significant levels. And you could see how significant that was. Wednesday, we made multiple attempts on the 1 hour chart to get inside value, kept on fighting with that. Then in the overnight session, remember that the market was up in the overnight session, and then kind of gave back some of those gains as we got closer to the open. But this was at 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, 2171 was tested and failed. And then we flirted with this again a couple times during the trading session. And then finally, last hour of the day, and that's kind of typically what happens when you're fighting with a level and you finally break through. It can be a bit, it can be a really nice move, which is what we saw there at the end of the day. There is one level to kind of watch for tomorrow. We did take out, and by the way, look at the downside V. So we went basically VPOC to VPOC, right? This is the virgin point of control from this period's volume profile. Right. Notice that we tagged this perfectly. We talked about that as that occurred. Right around a little bit after 10 o'clock this morning, that there was a VPOC. So that's sometimes exactly what we see. A tag and a reversal. So notice that we also took one out to the upside. Now, we have not seen a reversal yet, and we're actually above it. So that's a good sign that we didn't do something like this and revert back. But yeah, I think you have to kind of be pleased with that price action in the indices, and we're pushing right back to top of value. So not bad. I really don't have much complaints about the price action. In the indices, I'm happy that we're kind of pushing back to the upside. The way that I kind of look at things too, and try to tell myself how to kind of manage risk with this market, is when we're below the value area for the week, I tend to be a little bit more conservative because we're losing the uptrend, right? But once we get back above, then I feel much more better, much better, I should say, about overall risk taking, right? Because again, simply defined, and even if you don't have the value areas on your charts, but below this 200 period moving average, you're kind of messing around with a downtrend in the short term, right? Above it, you got an uptrend going on. So we're back above it for now. But the price action has been very whippy. Look at the last 3 weeks. We really haven't gone too far. All right, so we could talk about the Qs for a minute. Um, you know, Started to recover a little bit. Notice that 200 period moving average and prices below. So I'm still a bit more concerned, obviously, because by definition, they're below that 200 period moving average. It looks weaker. IWM, I'm not sure if there's really much for us. Kind of the same thing going on. And then again, I wanted to go over the Dow chart, but this is something that we talked about in yesterday's video. I talked about it in the member video, in the member macro video, saying I thought how the Dow stocks could actually break out this week, and you got it. Now, I did not put on a DIA trade, and if anybody wants that video from Sunday, I'm happy to provide that to them. Or if anybody wants a free look, who's not a member at TTG, to see what kind of videos we put out over the weekend for members, feel free to email. You can email me, and you could see exactly the type of detailed analysis that we put out over the weekend. Okay, so where I was basically saying, hey, I thought this had the best chance to break out versus SPY, Qs, and IWM. All right, so that's the index review. Let's just talk about gold, because I really haven't talked about gold in quite a while. So it did break above the May value area. It's just going to have to deal with a lot of overhead stuff. So I'm not really convinced that gold, is going to be like a leader in the market, or is it just bouncing basically, in like a counter trend rally? Because again, by definition, on the daily chart, 200 period moving average, price is below there. So notice that you got a virgin point of control up at 1856. That I would think, if I had to guess, that could be something where we rally to in gold, and then hit resistance and possibly fade. Silver had a nice day, but we took out a virgin point of control. Right? So again, sometimes we see fades after we hit a big volume area that hasn't been revisited. Right? This is from this volume profile. So again, what makes this a virgin point of control? Right? So the point of control is where the majority of the volume occurred in that period. And notice that the price action for this period did not cross where that largest area of volume occurred. That makes it a virgin point of control. Right? And they often act as kind of like gaps, like they get filled, right? So this has been realized or filled, and we'll have to see if there's going to be some really strong volume to kind of get us through where a lot of previous buyers and sellers met up. All right, so that's your charts there. Let's talk about the whippy price action, again for today within sectors. So gold miners were the best performer on the day. They were up 3.2%. You had the steel names continue to act really strong again. What iron ore made was it a new all-time high in China or something like that? We hear about these commodity moves in the Chinese market first sometimes. But I believe that's a new all-time high in steel. So the commodities have just been, absolutely on fire. Many of them, and I really don't want to go into the reasoning behind that. Our job here is to be traders and capitalize on trends. So forgetting about the reasoning going on with that, I've been very bullish on the material space, the chemical space, the steel space, and that's worked out pretty well from us. Also, some of these similar trends that if you've been watching our videos, financials up there again, over 1.5%. The consumer staples were strong today. Names like Kellogg, Colgate were strong today. Oil services also up there again today, strong. Nice new one up here, semis. We're going to talk a little bit about the semis, but here's your metals and mining. It's also like if you don't want to go long, straight gold miners, you can pick the XME, which has exposure to also steel names as well, and different all different types of miners other than just straight up gold miners. All right, so those were your performers, outperformers for the day. Similar kind of theme in the underperformers. A lot of really high beta, high growth areas of the market. This time it was your blockchain stocks, also your clean energy, your solar, which has just been getting walloped. And a lot of that category of high growth, right? So there is a repricing going on. And that's something that I've talked a lot about that over the last couple days. So you could go back and you can listen to yesterday's video, but the Fed is continuing to pepper us with all kinds of talk. I like to call them Captain Obvious in terms of the statements that they make, but it seems like they're hinting here and there about reducing the size of the balance sheet, tapering, right? That is causing funds to shift their allocations around, right? And they're going after just, cheaper valuation names, right? And we can even talk about, I know that people are talking about, the sell-off in tech. It really depends on what tech, right? One of the ETFs that we've talked about before, probably not in a couple weeks, but if you look at this TDIV ETF, right? So this is tech with high dividends, right? So these are your older tech names which are doing very well right now. I'll give you some examples. Cisco, big move today, right? Cisco is up 2.5%. Dell, which I got long. So like a lot of the, it's funny because there used to be a tech hardware ETF, and they took it away. They delisted it because I guess there wasn't enough interest. Sometimes that happens where they delist an ETF because there's not that much interest, and then that group becomes very strong. So Dell, made the turn today too. Remember, Dell has been in this nice uptrend, got a little bit ahead of itself, I think, on this VMware announcement, but has retraced this right back to the 20-day moving average. So I went long this name today. But if we kind of look through some names, HPE is another name that's interesting. It only went as far as this Virgin point of control takeout is another example of a Virgin point of control takeout and a fade. But now this thing looks like it's trying again. So that's HPE. Another name in the space, of hardware is STX, right? So this is Seagate Technology. I mean, made a really nice move on earnings, right? Broke out. Now look at the pullback, right? And not exactly super low volume on the pullback, but you could see it's now back above value. So you got a level to trade against. You could trade this against 89, or if you want a little bit more tolerance, the 20-day moving average in STX Seagate. So I know where this is not where the focus has been for a lot of traders that are still kind of focused on some of last year's names, but I'll tell you, this is where the momentum is, and this is where we've been kind of setting up and pointing out names in the Tribeca Trade Group. We've been all over this stuff, in terms of the new areas of the market that are trending, and we've been capitalizing on it quite well. So the teamwork that we have is, in my opinion, second to none. And we're in this to make money, not to say why is this name down or why is that name down? This doesn't seem right to me. We look forward, not behind. Other names of interests, right? So your Caterpillar, and I went long Caterpillar. I did get one target in this. It didn't really close exactly super strong, but for now I'm in it, and I took one target in the trade. Deere, if you go through some of these industrial names and material, a little bit material as well. Deere, finally came out of this. We talked about this name yesterday, how it looked like it was setting up. So new closing high, not intraday high, but new closing high for Deere. Again, notice, one of the things that I like in uptrends, sometimes a name gets a little bit ahead of itself and then it digests. Notice how price waited for the 50-day moving average to catch up. So again, some people don't like to use the moving averages, but like here's a good example that price whenever kind of it touches this 50-day moving average has been a decent buy area in the trend, right? So they really kind of help you to see where the trend is and where buyers come back. And hey, if everybody's looking at something, and placing buy orders around something, then I think it's valuable to have it on your screens, right? If it gives you valuable signals, then keep it on your screens. If it doesn't, and if it's just there for show, then maybe consider taking it off. United Rental's a name that we talked about yesterday. I added this to the TTG Trend Portfolio yesterday. Nice breakout out to new highs. Again, that looked like it was setting up a little bit post earnings. CF Industries, great initials by the way, made a look at this move post earnings, right? So another one. EMR, this is another name that I got long today. I actually try to pre-position a little bit going into earnings. And, these names, a lot of these industrial material names give you a little bit of shake and bake around earnings. And boom, look at that, right? Mosaic, which saw all those heavy calls a week ago, also shaping up here a little bit. Again, look at it kind of shake people out a little bit, test into the 50-day moving average and out. How about this name, T-Mobile? I'll wait for it. There we go. Look at that power candle. And again, zoom out. But look at the volume, right? If you're a big volume person, you like to see volume on breakouts. Look at that in T-Mobile. Right? I think this thing continues to go higher. Just the first day that it's making the new breakout of this. Really strong. Tech Resources, right? A name that we talked about yesterday in the trading room. To me, this looks like an inverted head and shoulders neckline going out. So there are a lot of good things going on in this market. We can go on. We could talk about a few other ones. Look at who likes beer. I like beer. Molson Coors up 4.4% today. Look at that breakout that's happening there. Impressive. I don't have anything on in that one. Just a couple other names that I've got. Then I got long JP Morgan yesterday. Boom. Out to highs here in JP Morgan. Again, spent a lot of time consolidating. Look at it actually gave a little bit of a false breakdown in here below the 50-day moving average. Not anymore. It's back at new highs. Goldman has been very strong, also out to new highs. All right, guys. So a lot of stuff that's behaving very well. All right, and it's kind of I like I said, I was worried when I saw the S&P fighting to get back inside value, but other than the super high growth names of 2020, which have been weak. There's a lot of strength in a lot of other places in the market. So, if you can continue to kind of broaden out your universe of names that you're watching, you're going to find some really good setups if you're paying attention, or if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, because we're pointing this stuff out every day, all day. And for now, until I see something that really changes personality-wise in the overall market. I think it's business as usual. Continue to be very disciplined. The one thing that I said in our midday video today was, you still, if you're moving like I have into more of this, old tech, financials, value type areas of the market, you still have to be super disciplined, right? There could be at some point a rotation out of some of the names that are working well now and back into some of the growth areas. So you have to maintain your discipline and be on the alert for that. Oh, last area of the market that I wanted to talk about in today's video, the semiconductors. Right. Well, Taiwan Semiconductor, just saw a lot of interest in calls today. But I think this would also be a very good sign. I've talked about this the last couple days too, that it would be great if the semiconductors could get going here. Applied Materials just needs a little bit of a further push here. That would be over 132.50, and that would be a signal for me to go long. I did go long some time on semiconductor, and then also if you look at a few other names, Lam Research looks very close to Applied Materials, also pressing to the bottom of value. So, again, just one more day, and these can kind of set up a little bit better. Another one that I like in this space, again, it's a bit high price, but it's so strong, is this ASML. Right, just looks a little bit different than the rest of the group. All right, guys, and of course, I always show my trade blotter. Right, full transparency. Tribeca Trade Group. I had a little bit of this ASO trade going on today. I took that off today for profits. That was a nice little treat. Again, this was not a big position for me. I did get stopped out in a couple things, very quick on the, or at least try to be. This LTM I position in, so it's good to talk about the losers too. Where did this thing finish now? 7.6%. But bottom line, it didn't do what I was looking for it to do. What was I looking for it to do? Break out of this value area and go higher. Right off the bat, off the open, it was down 5%. I got out of it when it was down 6, but it proceeded to go lower. I also gave up on Darden today. Now, I may get back into this because we're seeing a lot of these fake moves. Sorry, not fake moves. It's a real move, but maybe it's a false breakdown. I don't know that yet, and I'm happy to get back in if this thing shoots back up. But really tough day considering, it got a broker upgrade today. I was looking for this VPOC to be taken out. So it's kind of a little bit in no man's land. It's below value. It hasn't yet taken out the VPOC, and I'll continue to watch. So those were a couple names I got stopped out in. You can see the rest of the trades here. And yeah, that's it for today. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.